Welcome to episode 21 of Behind the Shield. Today we talk to head cross country and track and field coach Stephen LoBianco. Hello again, everybody. Scott Guys joining you for another episode of Behind the Shield. Today we get to talk to one of the busiest members of our coaching staff, as Coach Lobo handles both cross country teams and both track and field teams, indoor and outdoor. So he is one busy guy during the season. We get to touch on a bunch of things, including moving to the MAC and revisiting last year's men's cross-country championship. So after this commercial break, Stephen LoBianco.
At York College, we are proud of the fact that we have over 30 cultures and 30 countries represented among our campus community. We not only are proud of that fact, we celebrate the unique perspectives and differences that each and every person on this campus brings to us. So on behalf of all of us at York College, I want you to know that you are welcomed here.
Tu eres bienvenido aquí. Vous êtes bien reçu ici. You're very welcome here.
You are welcome here.
You are welcome here.
Você está bem-vindo aqui.
You are welcome here.
You are welcome here. You are welcome here.
You're welcome here.
معكم رقية آل الشيخ من كلية يورك في بنسلفانيا. أنتم مرحب بكم هنا. We are welcome.
From day one at your College of Pennsylvania, you are welcome here.
Welcome back to episode 21 of Behind the Shield. We are joined today by head track and field and cross-country coach Stephen LoBianco. Lobo, thanks for joining us. How you been doing?
I've been doing pretty good. Getting some good runs in, some good training in while I have the time.
That's awesome. So the question we ask everybody, first of all, how have you been doing during this this quarantine? It's gone a lot longer than I think everybody had hoped. How have you been doing with it?
Pretty good. I think I started off kind of hopeful I would get some summer races in. I had signed up for a marathon and was toying with the idea of a 50-miler during this time off, but they got canceled. So I decided to do 35 miles for my 35th birthday. So did that on my birthday at the end of March, and took a break and kind of gotten back into things. As I've gotten back into training, gotten back into recruiting, really focusing on hopefully having, some sort of normalcy in our recruiting this fall, and able to get, some recruits to campus as well as go see some recruits.
Speaking of recruiting, how much has that changed over the last 6 months? Obviously, you recruit for two programs. How has that been affected by what's going on with the pandemic?
Yeah. I would say for us, the recruiting with the pandemic has been very email-based, text-based, phone-based. I haven't done a ton on Zoom. If somebody has wanted to, I've allowed it. But, for me, it's just about kind of being there for the recruits, letting them know that during this time I'm still interested in them, even if they aren't able to get out and compete, just trying to sell them on everything that we have to offer as a program, but also as a school.
How challenging was it to come off of indoor, be excited? I know you had some high hopes for outdoor season. How hard was it to adjust to just being almost cut off cold turkey? The way the season ended for you guys. You never even got a chance to compete during the spring this year.
Yeah. The only good thing is I felt like we had a really strong indoor conference meet. With the women getting second, obviously, the coaches and I were all already sitting down, scratching our heads, trying to figure out how could we make up, those, I think it was like around 20 points to get after CNU on the women's side. And then, on the men's side, how could we walk away with a couple more individual titles? And especially with it being at home, I think that made it cut a little deeper, especially for our seniors. We had a couple of seniors that had PR during the indoor season. We had Rachel, who was the returning conference champ in the steeplechase, who's a senior who will kind of, go out on top in the CAC. But for her, it was, she wanted the chance to win twice. And, we had some seniors that were kind of giving it that last senior push that will never really get to end on their terms. So I think that was really tough. I honestly think it was tougher for the athletes than it was for me, because I personally got to do all 4 of my years. And as a coach, you can't really even know what that feels like to not be able to do that 4th year right now. So for me, it was trying to relate to them and be there for them. And even now, just sending out a text every once in a while to check in with them. I know a couple of them have gotten jobs, which is pretty awesome to see. I know a couple of them are kind of finishing up their engineering programs as well. So, just to kind of check in with them and see how things are going has been really nice. But I think it'll be something in 10, 15 years that they'll be able to look back on and be like, oh my gosh, like I lived through that at the peak of it. It cut off my track season. And, but for now, it's still that fresh wound that, it's not really fun to talk about, I would say, for them.
No, and I've talked to a number of kids during this time, and it's just, I'm not sure they're getting over it anytime soon, and you completely understand that. And so many other things, just not getting to be there that last semester of school and having to do stuff online, I think it was a real challenge and a real difficult thing. And I know it was difficult for all of us as well, but you're exactly right. We get to come back next year, and they don't, so which is tough. Let's move forward to cross country. Obviously, a great year last year, and now moving into the MAC this fall. What are some of the things you have excited about that you're excited about doing with moving into the new conference, not only for cross country but obviously track and field as well? What are some of the things that you are excited about with that move to the MAC?
I think the biggest thing for us is, so we don't have a separation of conferences, so it'll be 18 teams on the starting line in cross country, potentially 18 teams, for outdoor track as well, but it'll feel like a championship meet. The conference when I first was at York as a volunteer assistant and as a paid assistant was a little bigger, had that championship feel to it, and we kind of slowly moved away from that with of no fault of the conference, but schools leaving and stuff like that. So I think I'm looking forward to having a huge start line and having, 200 guys and girls in the race for our men and women to race against. It was a great way to go out last year. Hosting at home was awesome. But with 70 people on the line, it just wasn't that same feel, and how quickly everything spread out. And, especially in the men's race, that, the halfway point, we kind of had it locked up and it was ours to lose. The women was a lot more exciting because at the halfway point we were, not where we needed to be, but we looked strong. But it's one of those things that it's going to be more competition. And the way I've told it to our kids is, when CNU came into the conference, we didn't like them because they were competition. It had nothing to do with them. It's all, no, we have competition. But through that competition, I think it made me better as a coach. It made me not, be like, oh, well, this has worked. I'm going to keep doing it. It made me kind of think outside the box. How can we get better recruits? How can we do better training and develop kids better? And I think really that's what's taken us to where we are today, and where we've been for the past couple of years, to being, very respectable within the conference, but also, consistently top 10 finishing team in the region, which, as little as, 6-7 years ago was an absolutely crazy thing for us. So, that's the biggest thing I would say. And just looking at the regional finishes last year, which was our last race last year, the men were the first team in the MAC in the region, and the women were the third team in the MAC. So our big thing going into the season is to be in the mix. We've been saying, so we want to be in the mix. We want to be in the conversation the whole time, whether it's this year or 5 years from now. And whatever happens with that, we want to be in the mix for the win. As far as track goes, I think it is going to push out a couple of our flaws. We need to get some more depth in some areas. And we have a couple freshmen this year that helps us out with that. We're going to have to continue to develop that depth. Our throws right now is looking better than it ever has. We still need to continue to develop the jumps and sprints numbers as well. And I think, we can have a shot in a couple of years to be in the conversation there as well.
One thing that we talk about during the fall is how you manage cross country in terms of the training schedule with the runs. It took you educating me for a while now of how the program works and how we do things. Are you comfortable? Do you feel good about where we're at with cross country? Obviously, the results speak for themselves. Is that something that you continue to evolve through time and continue to tweak a little bit and change as we move forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you always want to get better, whether, it's a couple of years ago when the guys got to go to nationals or the women, winning 3 in a row. The big thing is you constantly want to be developing that and getting better. You want to be able to leave every year and be like, okay, here's what we did wrong. What can we do to get better next year? And I always tell my kids the definition of insanity is, doing the same thing, expecting different results. So even this year, coming into the season, we switched our summer training up for the men and the women, carried over some things from track to make things different for next year. So I think you need to be constantly learning as a coach, and I think whether you're me or you're one of the more tenured coaches in our region or our conference, you can always learn, whether it's from a younger coach. Like I talked to some of the younger coaches in the MAC. Tim, one of our alumni, and we talk about our training and some stuff he says. I'm like, wow, like from his perspective, it's good to hear things like that. So yeah, I think definitely constantly learning, tweaking, and trying to make things better.
One of the challenges you have that nobody else in our coaching staff has is you coach so many kids. What are some of the challenges with that? Because obviously your staff is not huge. So a lot of it falls on you. How hard is that to kind of switch and go about and do, basically train different kids for different things?
Mm-hmm. I think the toughest thing for me is that our cross country season and our track season actually overlap for about a month. So we are starting our track season in late October, early November. And depending on how far we go in the cross country season, we could be going the whole way to Thanksgiving. So that means cross country season ends only about 2 weeks before our first official track meet indoor. So it's really tough. I depend a lot on my assistants, and I try to prep the track kids to say, hey, I'm going to be a little more involved with cross country that first month, that first 3 to 5 weeks of the season. It doesn't mean that I don't care about you guys. I'm fully invested once that's over, but it's just that crossover that's really tough. And that's something that it is really tough unless you're in cross country, track and field. A lot of other coaches, don't necessarily relate to that and can't deal with that. So, I might be dealing with 40 kids for cross country, but I'm depending on, 2 assistants to deal with another, 50 to 60 kids in track on a daily basis. So Coach B, our throws coach, has been absolutely awesome with the throwers the past couple of years through development, but also, taking care of them. And then Coach Brown and Coach Booker this year kind of double teaming sprints and jumps were really nice to have 2 of them. In the past, we've only had 1, so to have 2 of them to kind of be able to split up, divide and conquer has been really nice until I get done the season. And then even during the season when I'm taking care of this year, I did pole vault and then the distance and mid distance, and then for them to be able to handle everything else. It's really nice to have good assistant coaches, and they are worth their weight in absolute gold. But it's really tough. It's a year-round thing. Every weekend, pretty much from September to May, the first weekend in May, is gone. So obviously, huge shouts to my wife, but also my parents for watching my daughter all the time. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's become my normal, which is also why we give the kids off on Wednesday during the week to give them a little bit of that like one day of college norm. So maybe they're not going to have official practice that day. They might have an easy run or something, but during cross country they have those Wednesdays off just to kind of give them that like norm to have a social life, to go to classes, to catch up on work, anything like that. Because during the weekends they are busy, with a meet and potentially a long run or anything like that.
Yeah, your kids put in a lot of work and a lot of time. Talk a little bit about obviously academically, you guys have done really well as a team and a group. It seems like there's a lot of good peer pressure to do well in school and to do well academically. You guys have always done that. Is that a focus? Is that a focus more when you recruit kids, or is it more when they get onto campus? Hey, we're here to be good academically as well, not only athletically. Is that something you focus on, or is that kind of almost an unspoken thing with your teams?
Honestly, I'd love to sit here and take credit that I really am over top of them, making sure their grades are great. But I keep up with them if they are potentially failing anything or missing a ton of classes. Other than that, it's on them. I'm a huge believer as a coach that we are prepping these kids for the real world. And nobody's going to be watching over their shoulder going, hey, Billy, you missed 3 classes. Like, you better get to class, like, or else. So, I don't make any empty threats or anything like that. I'm trying to prep these kids for the real world. And when they get out into the real world and they're having issues, it will be their responsibility to go to their boss, or in this case, their professor. I'm totally there for them if they need help. And we have an awesome story, and I won't say the athlete's name, but we had an athlete that came in and the first 2 semesters struggled big time, was not eligible, and last semester made dean's list. So it is something that we do work on if they are struggling. But these kids want to be smart. I always say, when track or cross country kids miss class, like, they emotionally miss class, like, they're bummed. And the best story I have about that is we went to nationals a couple years ago as a men's team in cross country, and one of my seniors, Ben, Zoomed or FaceTimed into his classes for engineering during that entire week we were gone, because he was like, I'm not missing class. So he also has a super good job right out of college and loves his job and is making great money. So, hey, obviously he had the right motivation. But I think the women this year were over a 3.5 for the track team, and the men were right around like a 3.39, which is awesome, which is, slightly above what we did as a athletics department, which honestly, I think these athletes, if they're motivated to be good, which is part of the recruiting process, we're recruiting kids that want to be good, they're going to be motivated to be good in the classroom too. So I think as coaches, we need to set them up for success, but I'm personally not a big fan on babysitting them and, doing a weekly check-in or anything like that with them.
Well, I think too, if you're a runner, you have a lot of intrinsic motivation anyway. So you're probably going to be a good student, because that's just part of, I think that's part of your makeup. And I think that's you said it right. I think a lot of our kids are that way. And I think that is something that we're very blessed to have such a great, and it starts in recruiting. You recruit the right kid, and you're going to have an opportunity to be successful. So, Lobo, hey, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it. I hope we actually get to see each other face to face sooner than later, which would be nice. Looking forward to getting back in the coaches suite and seeing our coaches and seeing our kids, because it's been way too long. So thanks for taking the time today. We're gonna have this up on Monday, and we'll be ready to go. So thank you for taking the time.
All right, see ya.
Take care.
On our platform, happy to have you along.
I want to thank Coach Lobo for joining us today. Certainly great to catch up with him and great to see him. It's been weird, as we talked about all the time, about not getting to see our coaches on a regular basis like we do once school's in session. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that will be able to occur here in a couple weeks, and we'll be able to get the fall campaign underway. So we will return later this week with Jake O'Neill and Sydney Fitzwater, and we look forward to that probably Wednesday, Friday this week. So look out for those new episodes of Behind the Shield. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Spartans.